So everyone's coming back from the breakout rooms.
Okay. Very. I think I got everything. Thank you. I think so. I'm hanging in there.
Okay, I think everyone's back. Welcome back. And Sensei Jun Tanoue is going to give a talk this morning. So
Okay. All right, boy, it has been a busy weekend. All right, is everybody else busy and not just me? All right, is everybody kind of hectic? Who's not? Who's really calm and peaceful? Please raise their hand. All right, Barb, you just need one to kind of spread out all of that good, peaceful vibes. Right, when all about you, you just need one person to just be calm and together and grounded, and then that vibe spreads. The Bodhisattva vibe. So, yeah, and yesterday's, right, big rain and thunder and lightning and tornado warning. It's like, okay, what's going on in the universe? Because, right, we're all one in some way that the Flower Garland Sutra talks about. And anyway, it's really wonderful to see all of you here. Yay! Patrick and Jackie are back from their travels. So I guess it was longer than a month ago, I saw the Flower Garland Sutra or the Flower Ornament Sutra. I thought, oh, this sounds perfect with hula, right? Because we have a lot of garlands and flowers in hula. And I'm reading the sutra and I'm thinking, wow, this is Hawaii 1,000 million times over. The sumptuous visions in the Flower Garland Sutra. And then about a month ago, I thought, hey, let's just, kind of celebrate COVID kind of, going down, and let's have a performance. We haven't had a performance for like 2 years, a public performance. And I thought, let's have one for May Day. It's coming up a month from now. I said, okay, it's just going to be simple. Each class is going to do one dance, it's just going to be simple. Well, it's, it's 90 minutes now. But it's a good way to celebrate. This month is Asian American and Pacific Islander Month, right? A celebration. So it's a great way to celebrate that. And on Friday, we were invited, this last Friday, we were in Purdue, driving 3 hours there. We did a performance at the Asian American Resource and Pacific Islander Resource Center and the Native American Education and Cultural Center. they invited us to do some hulas for their luau. And so we did just about 40 minutes, with some group participation at the end, and the students were so attentive and they just loved it. So we were doing the more serious hulas, even though this was a fun party. We were doing the more spiritual hulas and meaningful hulas to us. And the students really responded to that. So that was very, very heartwarming because they are our future. The students are. So, the Flower Garland Sutra, it is 1,600 pages, one of the longest sutras ever. So, I have not read it all right? I have read parts of it. But Taigen, Dan Layton, has a wonderful article about it in the Shambhala Sun, I think it was, about this sutra, which was the main sutra for the Chinese Huayan Buddhists, which were active in the 6th to the 9th century, just for about 300 years. But this particular sutra is considered by many Buddhist scholars to be one of the high points of Mahayana thought. And even in world philosophy. So this school has, it kind of died out in China, and then in Japan, there's a small school now called the Kegon School, which is in Nara, and Julie and I visited it when we went to Japan about, I don't know, 7 years ago now. This was in Nara, this is the biggest bronze Buddha statue in a wooden structure, in a wooden temple. It was humongous, and we had no idea. We were just wandering and wanting to visit temples, and then there was a little sign that said, something like the biggest Buddha in the world or something. So we walked over there to see it. That was pretty wonderful. And then right outside, remember that that was a bodhisattva out there, Julie, where it was a healing bodhisattva. And if you had anything wrong with you, you would touch that part of the body. And it was kind of high up there, so if you had something wrong with your foot, that would be perfect because the foot was right there, and you just touched that. Julie, she climbed up and she touched something on there. I forget what it was, but that was fun. It was an interesting looking bodhisattva. It was in wood. So it's called the Huayan, or Flower Garland, or Flower Ornament Sutra, or the Avatamsaka Sutra. And it's the main text of the Huayan school. It's considered to be, Taigen says it's extravagant, lengthy, and there's highly sumptuous visions in this sutra. And I thought, perfect, this is hula, these sumptuous flowers that we wear that are fragrant. Oh my goodness. So this sutra is sometimes described as Shakyamuni Buddha's very first awareness upon his great enlightenment, which was too lofty for anyone else at that time to hear. Isn't that interesting? So, and in the article, Taigen says that this is not a book to read to gain intellectual comprehension, right? Rather, this cumulative impact of these profuse imagery inspires heightened states of samadhi, or concentrated meditative awareness. And this effect can best be appreciated by bathing in the imagery, as if listening to a symphony rather than trying to decipher a textbook. All right, all of you intellectuals out there, we're going to just relax the brain now and listen to some of this imagery. And how they usually do it is to read it aloud to oneself or to a group of practitioners. That's the practice. And discourses are on topics such as the Bodhisattva path, the mutual interpenetration of all phenomena, dharmas, the miraculous powers of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the visionary powers of meditation, and emptiness, of course, is talked about, which I know those of you studying the Lotus Sutra, right? I've heard it's all about emptiness. All right, so these different sutras within a sutra was delivered to 8 different audiences. There's 39 chapters of this. So I wanted to read book 1, and just a brief part of book 1. And it is in this assembly, it's at Bodhimanda, which is under the seat where the Buddha sat, under the Bodhi tree, the seat of awareness, this place. So here, the Buddha Samantabhadra is discussing with the Buddha the nature of reality and how Vairochana Buddha is omnipresent throughout the Dharma Dhatu. So there's all of these Buddhist terms, which Samantabhadra is a wonderful bodhisattva, and that word means universal virtue. And he's often depicted riding on an elephant. And his presence is one of calm dignity. He specializes in performing devotional observances and in artistic expressions of the sacred. That's really interesting because Roshi's work, the Bodhisattvas, this is Samantabhadra, I believe, shining through into these beautiful Buddhas that he has been painting. Samantabhadra. So Samantabhadra resolutely practices the Bodhisattva vow, which we just chanted, those 4 vows, right? He practices he practices those vows by accomplishing many kinds of helpful projects, each aimed at benefiting all beings and engaging the societal systems of the world. These are bodhisattvas, and we try to do good in the world. So as a result, Samantabhadra can serve as a great encouragement and resource, both for artists and engaged Buddhists in the world. So I just want to say a little bit more about Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. He made 10 great vows in his path to full Buddhahood. So I want to read you these vows. The first is to pay homage and respect to all Buddhas. So, Buddhas, who are all Buddhas? Is it just Shakyamuni Buddha? No, it says all Buddhas. So who's all Buddhas? Can we be included in that? Yes, of course, to pay homage and respect to all Buddhas. So respecting all, that is a great vow, no matter what. Second, to praise the thus come one, Tathagata, and that's a Shakyamuni Buddha. To make abundant offerings, right? This is to practice generosity. And we've been appreciating in the Zen Life series the practice of a bodhisattva. The first practice is generosity. And this is not just in terms of giving things, absolutely, donating, absolutely, money, time, but it's also being generous when you make a mistake. It's being generous to yourself and not being down on yourself. All right, yeah, we made a mistake. I see what I did. Okay, I'm having a hard time. Okay, but we go on. We forgive. Right, the next one is to repent misdeeds and evil karmas. Yeah, if we make a mistake, we repent, we ask for forgiveness, apologize. We're not perfect, but this is the practice, this is the vow, right? The fifth one is to rejoice in others' merits and virtues, to find joy in what others are doing as well. The sixth is to request the Buddhas to continue teaching. And this is not just, giving a talk, but it's how we embody the bodhisattva practices in our everyday life. That's a teaching right there. And then to request the Buddhas to remain in the world. 8, to follow the teachings of the Buddhas at all times. What vows that Samantabhadra took. And 9, to accommodate and benefit all living beings. This path of a bodhisattva is of such deep, deep, compassionate love. To be able to make this vow to accommodate and benefit all living beings. And of course, we're included in that, right? So we're not just looking out, but we're part of everything. And then the last is to transfer all merits and virtues to benefit all beings, like we did at the end of our service today, our service of the Gate of Sweet Nectar. I love that service, right? Calling all the hungry spirits to be present, because we're going to feed you. What are we feeding them? Well, we're offering food, but I think deeper than that, what is that we are feeding the hungry ghosts? Well, I think part of it is some deep compassion, something that they need. And then we chant these beautiful mantras, and we dedicate all of the merits to all the beings, all the departed beings of this land, all people who are sick, and people who have died. So that's Samantabhadra, and Samantabhadra and the Buddha are discussing the nature of reality and how Vairochana Buddha is omnipresent throughout the Dharma Dhatu. So I'll be talking a little bit about the Dharma Dhatu a little bit later, but let me read from the first book. And this is given at this place of the tree where the Buddha was enlightened. It's called The Wonderful Adornments of the Leaders of the Worlds. Thus have I heard. At one time, the Buddha was in the land of Magadha, in a state of purity at the site of enlightenment, having just realized true awareness. The ground was solid and firm, made of diamond, adorned with exquisite jewel discs and myriad precious flowers with pure, clear crystals. The ocean of characteristics of the various colors appeared over an infinite extent. There were banners of precious stones constantly emitting shining light and producing beautiful sounds. Nets of myriad gems and garlands of exquisitely scented flowers hung all around. The finest jewels appeared spontaneously, raining inexhaustible quantities of gems and beautiful flowers all over the earth. There were rows of jewel trees, their branches and foliage lustrous and luxuriant. By the Buddha's spiritual power, he caused all the adornments of this enlightenment site to be reflected therein. The tree of enlightenment was tall and outstanding. Its trunk was diamond. Its main boughs were lapis lazuli. The branches and twigs were of various precious elements. The leaves, spreading in all directions, provided shade like clouds. The precious blossoms were of various colors. The branching twigs spread out their shadows. Also, the fruits were jewels containing a blazing radiance. They were together with the flowers in great arrays. The entire circumference of the tree emanated light. Within the light there rained precious stones, and within each gem were enlightening beings in great hosts like clouds, simultaneously appearing. Also, by virtue of the awesome spiritual power of the Buddha, the tree of enlightenment constantly gave forth sublime sounds, speaking various truths without end. I read that and I was like, oh my God. To be able to hear a tree speaking truths without end. At the time, the Buddha, the world-honored one in this setting, attained to supreme, correct awareness of all things. His knowledge entered into all times with complete equanimity. His body filled all worlds. His voice universally accorded with all lands in the 10 directions. Like space, which contains all forms, he made no discrimination among all objects. And as space extends everywhere, he entered all lands with equanimity. His body forever sat omnipresent in all sites of enlightenment. He expounded all truths like spreading great clouds. Each of his hair tips was able to contain all worlds without interference, in each manifesting immeasurable spiritual powers, teaching and civilizing all sentient beings. His body extended throughout the 10 directions, yet without coming or going. His knowledge entered into all forms and realized the emptiness of things. All the miraculous displays of the Buddhas of past, present, and future were all seen in his light, and all the adornments of inconceivable eons were revealed. Kind of letting this bathe through you. So let's see here. So also, Taigen is also saying that this extensive sutra does not have to be read in all of its entirety to experience the impact. So there's two chapters that really stand out as inspiring, kind of independent sutras in their own rights, and someday I'd like to study these. One is the chapter on the 10 stages, which is one of the earliest Mahayana sutras, which details the 10 stages of development of bodhisattvas before Buddhahood. And this, so in the Zen Life series, we're studying the practices of a bodhisattva. So they're all interconnected. The other sutra is the final chapter called The Entry into the Realm of Reality, which relates to the journey of a pilgrim, a young man, Sudana, to a sequence of 53 different bodhisattva teachers. And these great bodhisattvas present a very democratic vision of Dharma, as they include women and men, lay people and priests, beggars and kings and queens. And the final chapter culminates with his entry into this inconceivably vast tower of Maitreya Bodhisattva, Maitreya being the next future Buddha. And he says it's a lofty, mind-boggling episode that even the special effects wizardry of George Lucas and his colleagues could not begin to capture. Maitreya's tower, as extensive as all of space, contains a vast number of equally spacious towers, overflowing with amazing insights, amazing sights, each without interfering with the space of any of the others. This is like vast. This is what we call Maha. No inside, no outside of the circle. So, mention the Dharma Dhatu. This, there's a fourfold Dharma Dhatu. So, let me just read. Inspired by the Flower Ornament Sutra, the Chinese Huayan teachers were able to articulate a profound dialectical vision that is part of the foundation for all East Asian Buddhism. The basic teaching of this philosophy of interconnectedness is the fourfold Dharma Dhatu. The first two of these four aspects of Huayan reality clarify the two fundamental aspects of spiritual practice, and indeed of our whole lives. and that is the universal and the particular, or the absolute and the relative, right? Or the real and the apparent, or sameness and difference. So the first is this ultimate absolute reality. This is emptiness we're talking about, and something that you can glimpse when you do your meditation, deep meditation. You can maybe glimpse an insight into this emptiness. This vastness. So this emptiness is, right, no self, no individual ego. Extremely dynamic, and in many religious traditions, seeing the universal oneness or reality is considered to be a goal of spiritual awareness and practice, seeing the oneness, that we are not this individual self. But in Huayan Buddhism and in all East Asian Mahayana thereafter, the Bodhisattva's integration of that awareness into the ordinary everyday activities is the second part of this fourfold Dharmadhatu. And it is critically important. So there's a Zen master, Shito or Sekito in Japanese, who declared, merging with sameness or oneness is still not enlightenment. So seeing the oneness of the universal is only half of the practice, if that. So the relevance of the insight of that glimpse of the universal has to be expressed in the realm of our everyday life. So the third aspect of this Dharmadhatu is this mutual non-obstructing interpenetration of the absolute and the relative. I know this is a lot. So, with patience, we can see that this universal truth of emptiness exists in our everyday life. And that every particular situation, when fully examined, completely expresses the universal truth as well. And then based on this integration of relative and absolute, or the universal and the particular, the fourth part of this fourfold Dharmadhatu is the mutual non-obstructing interpenetration of the particular with other particulars, in which each particular entity or event can be fully present and complementary to any other particular. So, viewed from this deep vantage point of deep interconnectedness, particular beings do not need to obstruct each other, but rather can harmonize and be mutually revealing. So this has significant implications for how we can see our world as a field of complementary entities rather than a world of competitive and conflicting beings. That's so hopeful, right? So, the Hawaiian worldview about this interconnectedness also talks about Indra's net, which is where I got the idea, I remember, to do our Indra's net live. I think it was done about a month ago. And I first heard about Indra's net through Bernie Glassman Roshi. He talked about it. It may have been on the Auschwitz Bearing Retreat, or anyway, he was one who really saw the interconnectedness of everything. And then I remember Joseph Campbell in his Power of Myth series. I don't know if you've seen that or read his book. There's a DVD series that's really remarkable, and he also talked about Indra's net. So let me, Francis H. Cook describes Indra's net like this. Far away in the heavenly abode of the great god Indra, there is a wonderful net which has been hung by some cunning artificer in such a manner that it stretches out infinitely in all directions. In accordance with the extravagant tastes of deities, the artificer has hung a single glittering jewel in each eye of the net. And since the net itself is infinite in dimension, the jewels are infinite in number. There hang the jewels, glittering like stars in the first magnitude, a wonderful sight to behold. If we now arbitrarily select one of these jewels for inspection and look closely at it, we will discover that in its polished surface there are reflected all the other jewels in the net, infinite in number. Not only that, but each of the jewels reflected in this one jewel is also reflecting all the other jewels, so that there is an infinite reflecting process occurring. What a beautiful metaphor of our deep interconnection with one another. You know, which speaks, we can see how in this, on this earth, how we are deeply interconnected with all that is going on. And so I'm so grateful for the Earth Steward Circle, who is beginning this process of being aware of what we do, because we are reflecting everything, right? Or we are impacting everything in this interconnection. Here's a model. Another model is the ocean mirror or ocean seal samadhi. In this image, awareness is like the vast ocean surface, reflecting and confirming in detail all phenomena of the entire universe. Waves of phenomena may arise on the surface of the ocean, distorting its ability to mirror plainly. But when the waves subside as the water calms and clears, the ocean mirror again reflects all clearly. And so our individual minds can be compared very much like this, often disturbed by turbulence, but also capable of settling serenely to reflect clear awareness. Some more interconnection from the sutra, the 30th book. If untold Buddha lands are reduced to atoms, in one atom are untold lands, and as in one, so in each. The atoms to which these Buddha lands are reduced in an instant are unspeakable, and so are the atoms of continuous reduction moment to moment, going on for untold eons. These atoms contain lands unspeakably many, and the atoms in these lands are even harder to tell of. So that was, yeah, that's like the intrasnet. In all atoms of all lands, Buddha enters, each and every one, producing miracle displays for sentient beings. Such is the way of Vairochana. The techniques of the Buddhas are inconceivable, all appearing in accord with beings' minds. In each atom, the Buddhas of all times appear according to inclinations, while their essential nature neither comes nor goes. By their vow power, they pervade the world. Vow, living by vow. All right. That was a lot right there. Any questions or discussion about this beautiful sutra? As you can see, there's so much in it. Just one section you could meditate on for a while. So one last thing, this model of interconnectedness really points to an experience of wholeness that is one of the great joys of Zazen, of our practice of Zazen. And from the perspective of Zazen, meditation practice is not about attaining some special new state of mind or being, but about fully realizing the inner dignity of this present body and mind. So the Huayan further explicates the importance of the relationships of wholeness to everyday activities, mirroring the central emphasis of Zen training on expressing clear awareness amid ordinary conduct. And so for us, that means, trying to really be alert and awake and mindful to what's going on in our lives. So we can be clear in the way that we are. The Bodhisattva path is really a path of love. It's of deep, deep love. The native Hawaiians call it kapu aloha, which is the sacredness of love, where there is full respect of yourself and of other beings, totally nonviolent, right? And so this is the path that bodhisattvas walk. And there are practices that we do to try to stay aware, right? The practice of generosity, the practice of discipline or morality. Patience is such a key one that runs throughout. Energy. It takes energy to practice this way, like it takes energy to practice hula, which is a very much a spiritual discipline here. And it's a kind of a moving meditation. And I think both moving, when we move through our life, you know, we are practicing meditation, this mindfulness awareness. But we're dancing, we're interacting, and throughout all of these practices, there's this underlying prajna wisdom. So no, it's not wisdom about something, it's just this basic wisdom that incorporates emptiness with basic goodness, and seeing things as they are. And that takes practice to do. So, hula is such a great way to practice, actually, because it starts moving your body, you know? You can get kind of in, when we start studying a lot of things, right? You can get kind of weighted down by the brain, right? And so we have to move our bodies, and so that's what we're practicing in hula. And we're also practicing joy, because you can think about these bodhisattva practices as being like, oh, you know, I have to like bear everything, right? But no, it's not that. You know, it's said that we're enlightened beings, and that's why we practice. So underlying everything is a deep joy that goes with this love. And can we see it? It's evident in hula for sure when we dance about, and we're going to dance for you about the beautiful roses. In Maui, they have these pink, beautiful roses called lokelanis. We also call it roselani. And we are comparing people to this beautiful flower when we're dancing. So, so I see some of my hula students here too that are ready to dance. So are you ready to dance? Where's Hana? He disappeared. He's our music. And anyway, so any questions while we're getting ready to dance that you might have? This is kind of an amazing sutra that I didn't really realize how deep that it was. Oh, look, I see Yoshie from Austin, Texas has on a beautiful rose lei, right, which is perfect. And there's Allison up in Evanston, a number of my Chicago students here also. So, what happened to Hana? He disappeared. Any questions or discussion? I don't know that I'll be able to answer it, but I would be happy to discuss anything that you would like to. Oh, all right, Hana, he has changed into his beautiful shirt. Okay, so, yeah, so we need the music. All right. All right, so if everybody would, we're gonna dance Roselani Blossom, and I'll be explaining or, you know, translating the Hawaiian for you. If everybody who's not dancing, just turn off your video, and then you'll see and then you can go to hide non-video participants, and then you'll see the dancers. All right, so Hana, you can be right here dancing, all right? Right over here. And turn on the microphone, okay. Roselani Blossoms.
Where would we find that link, that button to push, to hide the participants?
Okay, it is in, if you go to anybody who has hidden themselves, click there, and those three dots. Yep, you did it, Blair.
Okay,
Okay, great.
thank you.
And so I'm going to ask Robin to turn on. Okay, good. And then if you would also mute yourselves, that would be great. There they are. We're dancing this today and a number of other dances. Okay, Hannah, I'll do it. You want me to press it? Okay, are you ready? Okay. Oop. Oop, not that one. No. Let's see, where is it, Hannah? Okay. Oh, yeah, where are you? My beautiful Lokelani. You are beautiful to me, and you are a part of me forever. Where are you? My Lokelani. You are beautiful and a part of me forever. Tanoue. I remember Iao Valley on Maui, where we drank the sacred waters. So good. You are here in my heart. I love you dearly. You are the melody of my soul. Like love forever. This is my story of that beautiful Iao Valley on Maui. It's the best. My Roselani blossom, my lei so fragrant. This is my story of Maui, the best. The rose blossom, my lei, so fragrant. Thank you. Thank you. Mahalo, beautiful. All right, any thoughts, any questions? It's about love. All right. Celebration of love. For ourselves, for each other, for the earth. All right, then we'll have a wonderful day today. Everybody be safe and healthy, and we will see you again. Aloha. Mahalo.
May Day celebration.
Yes, yes.